All right. What's up, ass clowns? This is jer-dog, the comedian, jer-dogcomedy.com, thebarcomic.com. This is The Bar Comic, the podcast.
Hey, this is jer-dog with The Bar Comic, the podcast, www.thebarcomic.com, The Bar Comic on YouTube, The Bar Comic on Facebook, wherever else. I'm all over the place. And today we have got two really, really cool people, two of my favorite people in the comedy industry right now on a live audio podcast. One of my original mentors from back in the day when I very first started going on the road full time. We have Dobie Maxwell here. What's up, Dobie?
Hey, buddy. If I'm on the show, you're lowering the bar. Speaking of barcomic.com, but I do appreciate it, man. My grill is this Memorial Day weekend as we record this, so I got a half a buffalo on this grill, but it's waiting, and we're here talking about important stuff.
Hey, man, thanks. And also joining us is the guy who runs what I consider to be one of the best one-nighters for comedy, probably in the entire country. And of course, that's always up for debate, but I hear it from a lot of other comedians as well. He does Wednesday night, the first Wednesday of the month, at his Pub and Grub in Clinton, Wisconsin, Boxcars Pub and Grub. It's Tim Pogorelski.
How you doing, jer-dog? Glad to be on here with Dobie and everything. It's great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. This is so much fun just to be able to talk to you guys. Boxcars really does have one of the best one-nighters for comedy as far as I'm concerned, and I've heard that from a lot of other comedians as well. Dobie, would you agree?
I would totally agree, jer-dog, and not just because Tim is on. You know, it's not a lot of times. I've been a comedian for how many years now? I don't even know how many presidents I've been a comedian for. But Tim, I consider him a friend, and I don't consider a lot of bar owners and bookers friends. And that it can be good and it can be bad. And the good part is I know that, number one, when I get there, I'm going to be treated like a king. He cares about the show and comedy in general, and it's going to be a fantastic experience. On the other hand, since he's not just a bar owner, he's my friend too, I always try to give my best. I want to give an extra good show to make sure that all his hard work is rewarded. Because as we were talking about before the recording went on, whether we like it or not, comedians and bar owners, we're partners in business, at least for one night. And rather than have an adversarial relationship, we might as well be partners and trying to make it good. Like a marriage, you know? Marriage people fight all the time. It's much easier if you get along.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tim, what inspired you to do comedy to begin with?
The letter that you sent to me when you sent the letter out, and honestly, it's you sent that letter, and I was talking to my wife, and I thought, geez, what the heck? Let's try this. I think we might be able to do this, and sure enough, we pulled it off, and and ever since then, it was like let's try and grow this, and now we do the first Wednesday of every month from October to March, and we've been doing it. I think this is gonna be our 5th or 6th year. I can't remember, but we've sold out. I would say 90 to 95% of the shows, and now next year, heading into October, we've already got 32 VIP tickets sold.
Which is pretty much half the seats, right? It's a smaller club. What can you get in there, 50 or 60?
Yeah, we put 60 people in there. We can put up to 64 if we juggle things around and have the demand for it, which we've done a couple of times. But we mainly try to keep it right at 60 people, and that's the VIP thing is just been fantastic for us.
And explain how that VIP thing works. I know about it, Dobie knows about it, but just so the people who are listening, how they can get a reference point.
Yeah, it's people buy tickets to the VIP ticket, gets them a ticket to the show. It also gets them half price drink, half price appetizer at each show, and gets them the same seats. They pick out where they want to sit, and they sit at those same seats for all 6 shows.
And that's pretty popular. How was that when you first started it? Did people immediately jump on that, or did it take a little while to get used to?
It took a little while getting used to. We had, I think, our first year we did, I think we had like 16 people that did it, you know, and then it's grown every year, and we ended our last show last year, you know, and boom, right away we had 8 more people that came up and said, could I get, you know, VIP tickets for next year, and, you know, here's the money. And so now we're up to 32, and I mean, if it got to 60, I wouldn't care, you know. I mean, maybe look at adding a second show then. I'm not sure, you know. I don't want to, if it isn't broke, I don't want to try to fix it, you know, and so far it's not been broke.
Now, Dobie, have you ever heard of anybody else doing a VIP season pass sort of offering to their customers or their?
Again, very few. There's a guy named
that?
Donnie B. There's a guy named Donnie B. who runs a comedy club down in Springfield, Illinois. And like Tim, Donnie was in the entertainment business beforehand. I think that really helps as a bar owner because there's people skills involved, and people like entertainment, and I like entertainment. Tim, you're in a band. I can't play one musical note. I really enjoy bands. I respect them. I know how hard it is to have that whole kind of thing. You respect comedians. So does Donnie B. He has season passes and exactly like I think he treats it like an opera or a symphony or anything else, or a sports team even, the season tickets. And I think the customers come along and they follow suit. A lot of them have never seen comedy before. No offense. Clinton, Wisconsin is not a big town. I don't think there's been a lot of comedy in Clinton before Tim started running it at Boxcars. Maybe there was some around. What's the nearest comedy to you, Tim? Is it Janesville or Beloit?
Yeah, there's been a few places. I would say my buddy up in Janesville, Tim Richards, he does comedy on a regular basis, and that's about the only other one. You get to Madison. I mean, there's been a few bars here and there that have tried it. They've been, you know, a one and done, or maybe, you know, 1 or 2 a year or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, Madison, Milwaukee, something like that, down to Rockford.
So you got a little bit of a territory there, and it's a good thing because your customers have something fresh, and you have other good things to offer. So it's kind of like, even if you're breaking even or losing a couple bucks, which I hope you're not, but if you are, it opens them up to your other stuff that to offer, and I think it's a win-win personally.
I do too, and we keep the tickets. They're $10. You know, for certain shows, we've done $15 tickets. I think last year when we did the World Bowl Super Series of Comedy, which we weren't able to do this year due to scheduling conflicts, and hopefully we'll do it again next year. I can't remember. I think them tickets were maybe $20. I know they were at least $15, but you know, we keep it there. That way, I can pay the comedian. I can pay for the printing of the flyers, the tickets, the hotel room, and then you know, I'm making my money on, you know, the people being there on a Wednesday night. It's a Wednesday night, so
sure.
I look at it as a win for everybody, and you know, and I tell you what, working with guys like Dobie has just been, you know, tremendous. I mean, you know, Dobie's probably one of the most professional people I've met, and I'm not saying it just because we're on this together, but everybody that's been at our place, I've never had one guy or lady that's gotten done that I thought, man, I'm never going to have them back, or I wish they weren't here, or, you know, had customers complain. It's been, every show has been really good, and it's been unique, and that's what the cool part about comedy is. It's nothing against bands. I played in one for years and years, and we still have music, you know, but Brown Eyed Girl is Brown Eyed Girl. You know, I haven't heard a comedian tell the same joke in the 4 years that we've been there. Outside of jer-dog, I mean, he takes everybody's stuff.
He does it better, though. He's like a song stylist, but he's a joke stylist. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm just kidding.
That's why I like working with Dobie so much. You know, I walk away with a whole new hour of material.
It's all good, man. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Road tested, ready to go.
Hey, here's something I wanted to touch on. You brought it up a second ago when you asked Tim how much comedy was around there, and he's like, "Well, there's not a whole lot." But you mentioned Tim Richards, who runs the Crosby Place over in Janesville, and you guys are friends. You both are doing comedy. You're not that far from each other. Was it maybe 10 miles, 20 miles? But there are a lot of bookers, there are a lot of clubs, there are a lot of agents that any comedy club or any comedy offering of any kind, any civilian who makes a fucking joke next to a water cooler within a 50-mile range, that booker, that club owner immediately loses their shit. Do you know what I'm talking about, Dobie?
I know exactly what you're talking about, jer-dog, and I think, it's completely wrong, in my opinion. I was talking to a guy that was a pub comedian, actually, over in Ireland. And he said that in the pubs over there, there's pubs up and down the same street, and people are basically creatures of habit. They have the same stool in the same pub, and they go there every day. And there's a bunch of pubs around, so these people, they work pubs down the street, not just 10 miles away or 20 miles away or 50 miles away in the next town. And everybody has they have their regular circuit that they work, and nobody steps on each other. I really think the same thing. If people are going to boxcars, it's a destination point. Tim's got a good meals in there, good other shows. It's like, oh, we have comedy too. I don't think another town hurts it in the least, especially nowadays. People are creatures of habit. They're lazy. They go to the place that they go to that's close to their house, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also a lot of times, even if it's two comedy clubs in the exact same town, they could even be across the street from each other. I've never been to two comedy clubs that are exactly alike. Even among comedy clubs, there's different atmospheres. There's different types of clientele. I was in L.A. a couple weeks ago with Katrina Brown and doing the He Said, She Said show in Arizona and right outside of L.A. in Azusa, California. But we had a couple nights there, and I'll tell you, we stopped in at the Comedy Store, and they have like 3 or 4 different comedy rooms within one building, and they're all catering to different types of crowds. The tourists, the locals. There's the main stage where it's like people are paying a little bit more to see a big name headliner. So within one building. Of course, it's L.A. It's a huge, 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 huge town, but there's also a shitload of comedians there. Everybody there is in show business. There's a ton of comedy clubs. There's a lot of competition. But even within one building, it amazed me that you can have all kinds of comedy happening, and no one's getting butthurt over it.
Amen. True fact.
No,
Tim, what would you have to say about that? Is that something that do you find yourself competitive with other area bars that might do the same thing that you do, or do you really give a shit about that stuff?
Yes and no. Timmy and I are friends, and we don't. We talk and we bounce ideas off each other. We outside of yourself and maybe a couple others, we don't have the same comedians. I use you. He uses, whoever he uses. But there's been a couple other places that have done comedy. It's like, all right, let's see how you're going to do this. You pull it off. And I know why they're doing it. They're doing it because, Timmy sells out and I sell out. And it's like, well, shit, if they can do it, we can do it. And then you see they do it one time, and then that's it, because they don't have, Tim's got the Crosby place. I have my additional room that I can block off. These other places don't have. I came and seen you, jer-dog, at a place in Beloit, and it was, just a bar, and it was like, hey, you gonna shut the TVs off, or, what are you gonna just, like, it's not a band where people still can talk and the music's playing. It's like, you got to be able to, shut the fuck up, and that's what, when I introduce you guys, I kind of have that little thing that's like, hey, welcome to Boxcars, and out of, respect to the performers and other people around you, please refrain from loud talking, or, and there's been a couple of people that I've asked to leave during the show because, I don't give a shit if it's only $10. If it's me, I paid $10 to come and see you. I didn't come and listen to this guy, bitch and moan about his boss, or, or him and his wife argue, or just him try to be funnier than the comedians. Nathan Allen came there. Dobie, you said you couldn't play a note of music. I tell you what, Nathan came there one time. His opening act got sick. And I thought, I'll tell a couple of jokes up here quick, and stuff. I couldn't think of one frickin' joke to tell. Because I stood there looking like, okay. Hey, the bar, and then just like that, I fucked it up. A horse walks in the bar, bartender says, why the long face? That was it. It was like, you think this shit's easy? You come up here and do it. And, so, it's the same with running a good show. And so now I don't. Now I look at it going, people want to have comedy and they're doing it maybe because we've been successful at it. Well, then I guess I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, well,
Tim, I think the one
compliment.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here, Jared. I think Tim made a really great point, several great points, but the one word that stuck out with what he said was respect. I think that's got to be a mutual thing going both ways streets. The club owner has to respect the comic, and he does that by, telling him, hey, the crowd to be quiet. Little things like that sure go a long way. And I think comedians, too, need to respect the bar owner, too, if you get a relationship going. It doesn't take a whole lot to do a text or a phone call and say, hey, Tim, the guy in Beloit or Janesville asked me to work his room. How do you feel about that? And again, I don't think Tim's trying to stop anybody from making a living. He does 6 shows a year. But if we develop a relationship and cultivate following, I, out of respect for Tim, which is good treating me, don't want to go across the street and jeopardize that relationship, especially for a one-time shot. And I think there's got to be a communication that's open, going both ways, and it's not that hard. And I think if it starts off really good, there's no reason that it has to end. And a lot of comedians don't do it, and a lot of bar owners don't do it, and it's really not that tough. That's why I think it works out, because all parties here, we got each other's back in a nutshell.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Dobie. And in fact, I think that's where a lot of the animosity comes from in comedy, where they say it's just business competition. Hey, it's just business. It's nothing personal. I think it's completely personal.
Yes.
Because it's even among comedians who are maybe they're open micers and they haven't even made $1, or maybe just the run-of-the-mill headliners. Guys that are good, but they're not necessarily making a full-time living at it. But what do you call them, Dobie? The weekend warriors, where, maybe one weekend a month they go out and they do a Friday, Saturday for $200.
Yeah, I call it training wheel comedians. They haven't taken all the training wheels off.
Yeah. And even among those guys, sometimes they get a little competitive, and it's a weird thing with comedy that I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed it too, or it's just me, but it seems like some people think that only one person out there can be funny, or that only one place can have a certain thing like comedy. And I think that when it's good, there's room for everybody.
Amen.
I agree. We've got I have that wall that is over the arch to walk into the dining room next door, and I've got several of your posters up, and you guys have signed and stuff. And it's funny, comedians that have never been there come in and they'll look up and they're like, oh man, you've had this guy here, or this guy here, or this lady here. It's like, oh wow, that guy's funny. They're funny. Never seen them, heard good things. Nobody's ever walked in and went, oh, you had that guy. I'm 10 times funnier than him, or and you went back, Dobie, talking about respect. There's been comedians come in and just the vibe sometimes you feel, and it's a Wednesday night, and you're in Clinton, a town of 2,000 people. You don't know what to expect. You walk in the main door, the front door to the bar, and the door to the dining room is closed off, and of course you've got the walls, the windows blacked out, and the big screen is down in the one, so you really can't see. You don't know that room is there. And they're like, where are we performing? And I'd bring them around and show them. And when they first come in, you can sense a little bit of an attitude, like, fuck it, I don't want to. It's Wednesday, I'm in Clinton, whoop-de-doo. And then you take them around the corner, and it's like, oh shit, this is like a regular comedy club, And then, like you said, then I introduce them and tell the people to please respect them and be quiet. And geez, they leave there going, man, this is awesome. This is, jer-dog said it was a good room, but I was apprehensive, or, whatever. Just, I don't know. I guess having been a musician and been in places, been treated like shit, I don't want to do that, and I just think that if you walk in and make somebody feel welcome and at ease, and let them know that, hey, I'm providing a professional comedy club atmosphere on my end. Now you put out a professional comedy show for the people that paid to come, and then we all walk away, as Dobie says, we're all happy at the end, and it's a win-win for everybody.
And that's a pretty stark contrast to about 90% of the one-nighters that are currently being booked right now. Would you agree, Dobie?
I would totally agree. I know I'm an old fart, and I made it through the boom years of the 80s. And that was good in a way, and it was bad in a way. It was bad in that it was not hard to get work. there were one-nighters, your Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday nights were a room, maybe like Tim's or even a little bigger. A lot of times it was in a smaller town in a hotel lounge. They would have the comedy there. So by the time you got to your weekend room in a little bit bigger town, you got 5-6 days of work, and you're making a nice, hefty, really good chunk of change as an opening act or even a feature act. I don't know how those guys make it today, but back then I was 22, 23 years old. I could be out on the road doing 5-6 nights a week. Now, comics like me and jer-dog and everybody else should be delighted, should be kissing Tim's toes to have a gig on a Wednesday night, that we're not out throwing eggshells and rotten fish at you. And you get a hotel room and the people are actually listening. You know what I'm saying? It's refreshing to have people, I'm in Clinton, Wisconsin. Yes, but I'm making a living working on my craft. And like before the boom years, I talked to the guys that were there. That's all they did. Look at vaudeville. They played towns that made Clinton look like Las Vegas. Where you go where the people are. And I think the people, if they come out to boxcars and that's their venue for entertainment, they laugh just as hard. Their money spends just as well. They buy drinks. They tip. They come back to see shows for a season basis. I don't think any performer should ever look down at the size of the venue in the town and push, I'm here. I mean, you might joke about it on stage, I'm a Clinton big whoop to do. It's a joke, ha ha. But deep down, I mean, the respect is in your attitude, how you come in there and you treat Tim, not only Tim, the bartenders, the rest of the staff. There's a guy named Jim Wiggins. Tim, I don't know if you ever had Jim Wiggins in your place, did you?
Yes, we did. We got to have Mr. Wiggins there one time.
Well, I'm not going to step on any. I'll let you tell your story because it was the Jim Wiggins story. His whole deal was you say hello to the town, then you say hello to the room. You get to the Clinton or wherever the gas station, wherever it is, the hotel. Hey, I'm a comic. I'm going to be playing over at Boxcars tonight. I sure hope you can make it. Hey, is there any place good to eat around here? Blah, blah, blah. Then you get into Boxcars. Hey, I'm a comedian tonight. Here's the bartender. Here's $10. You know what? I really like Schlitz. Bring that to me, blah, blah, blah. And then you get on stage, and it's a whole attitude. And I think comedians, they could consider themselves headliners. That word is so overused. It's like, blind date. Well, how does a blind date look? Well, she's cute. Well, cute can have a lot of different interpretations depending on who you talk to. You come in there, a headliner to me puts butts in seats, period. I'm a show closer. I've been doing this 30 years. I am not a headliner. I wish I was. I was on national TV for 5 minutes at 1 o'clock in the morning when drunks come home and you see a bunch of white guys on a brick wall, which you never heard of. I'm that kind of comedian. I realize I'm not a headliner, so I got to be nice. I got to work hard. I got to get the people laughing. So Tim asked me back to perform, and jer-dog trusts me because there's 6 comics a year that he books. There's about 5,000 comics that are approaching jer-dog for work. I got to have some kind of redeeming qualities. I think the comedian's got to be humble. The bartender's got to be humble. And in our situation, it works, but it's not that way everywhere else. And I think all 3 of us know that.
Yeah, you're right, dude. And you know what? There's so many other comics out there that'll even say and echo exactly what you just said, but then go in and behave completely otherwise. One of the things that'll put you just in the top 10% immediately is a good, fun attitude. And that, for me, I extend that to even doing like a informal type meet and greet with the audience after the show. I don't call it the meet and greet with the comedian because, honestly, I do think that is a little bit cheesy. We're going to set up some fucking velvet ropes and put them in a line. Okay, hey, you met me. But what I do is you talk about work. Okay, first you say hello to the town. Then you say hello to the room. Then you do the show. But then I also like to add in, okay, now let me reintroduce myself after the show. Now they've seen it. They know it's a good time. They've laughed their asses off. And now let me have a little personal interaction with each and everybody in there. If, to as much as they want. I'm not just jumping in on conversations and interrupting people going, hey, I got more jokes for you, waka, waka, waka. But, Tim, you've seen me. I roll around in there until we're like the last ones to leave. And I think I call that the show after the show. Mm-hmm. That's the sweet spot. That's where you pick up fans. You can sign people up on your Facebook. You sell your merchandise. You have a lot of fun. And then the next time you come back, you got stories, and you practically don't even have to do your material. Tim, how many times I go in there and I've got like a whole new story just from what happened the last time. So-and-so took me to the strip club or whatever.
Excuse me, I got a cold. But exactly. That's, and that is, it's sitting around and people want to come up and they want to, they're first kind of apprehensive, and then they start talking to you and then all of a sudden they're your best friend, or they come back the next maybe they'll come in tonight for double bubble or Saturday, whatever, and they were at the show, and I was like, man, that Dobie, he's funnier than hell, but what a nice guy. He sat at our table and talked to us. He must have talked to us like 10 minutes. Like, yeah, that's, pretty much everybody that comes in is a pretty genuine person, and I think that, what, jer-dog, it goes back to you and, the quality of people that you just aren't out there, booking some jag off. So you get your money in the mail from them and, whatever it is. I don't even know your deal. I don't care because it's not, it's not my business. But you've always sent me quality professional people, and you want to know how things were and afterwards, or how ticket sales are going beforehand, and Dobie, I've gotten the nicest thank you cards from Dobie that I still have, about being there, and it's for me, that's what it's all about. I want people to laugh, walk away, have fun. This is a trip for me. It isn't like, oh boy, you got the best one-nighter thing. You've told me that. That's just, and I'm proud of that, and if, whether it's true or whether it's not, I just, I want comedians to leave and tell other people going, hey, you want to go to a good place. You might think it's hokey, Clinton, Wisconsin. You won't find it on the map, but tell you what, it's being at the the Laugh Funny Bone on a Thursday night in St. Louis or whatever.
Yeah, and quite honestly, guys, I don't know what Dobie's opinion of this is, and you certainly offered up because I'd love to hear some perspective. I might be jaded, I might be biased, but frankly, I love doing the small town shows. I find the small towns so much more interesting than a lot of the cities that I go to. Even, a couple weeks ago, we were able to stop in Vegas on our way out to the West Coast, and but even then, we had a night off, and we still only had like 2 or 3 hours. It's not like you go into these places where they have a it's a larger metropolis, and you've got all this time in the world to go out there and enjoy all the great things in that city. You're fucking tired from traveling. You got the shows to do. A lot of those clubs you have to do sometimes 2 or 3 shows at night. You don't have time for that tourist crap. But when you go into the small town, like Tim, like you'll take me across the street and we eat at that diner. Or, you meet a lot of the regulars. You meet a lot of the people. They all know each other. They all have their own stories on each other. And I find that you develop a little bit more loyal followings from a comedy perspective, but also like legitimate friendships. And then with cool things like Facebook and everything else, we're like, people hit me up on text message. Hey, when are you coming back to town? And I might just be stopping by to hang out at Boxcars for a burger that day and see people from the last time I was there doing a show. To me, that's a lot more fun, actually, than doing a 30-minute set just because it's in, Atlanta. What say you, Dobie?
I didn't want to interrupt you. You're on a roll there. I would highly agree with you. I think the people in a smaller town, they're genuinely appreciative that someone would come there and not make fun of their town. Because they know that just because someone lives in a small town does not mean it's a bad place. But a lot of times there's an inferiority complex that they have normally. I grew up in Milwaukee, which in Clinton standards is not a small town. But next to Chicago, it's a boil on the fanny of existence. And Milwaukee has always had a little brother complex, just like Chicago has had a little brother complex to New York. It's always, well, there's someplace better than us. Well, on that night, on Wednesday at Boxcars, there's no other place. And I'm glad to be there. And one thing I wanted to add from what Tim was talking about before is that, we like to stay afterwards, and jer-dog likes to sit. If there's bar owners listening to this and you're thinking about putting on a comedy show, comedians do have different personalities. I'm real quiet off stage. I don't drink at all. I don't judge anybody who does. If you want to snort coke or smoke dope or do whatever you want to do, I'm not judgmental. I'm just quiet off stage. I would never turn down a fan if they wanted an autograph or to talk or tell me a joke or whatever that is. But sometimes I like to be by myself or even take off and drive home. I think bartenders need to know that doesn't mean the comedian doesn't like you. A lot of times if they're on a long trip, they got a lot of driving to do. And just, sometimes I have people that said, you were a real nice guy, but you kind of left and you didn't hang and party with us. Well, I'm not a party guy. so it doesn't mean I don't like you. I just want to put that point out there because, again, we a lot of times the image that we create on stage, oh, it's good time Charlie up there, everything's cool. But when the show's over, like, the strippers that are around flashing her boobs at Kmart. I mean, she does her show and then it's off. If she did, I'd be shopping at Kmart a lot more. But I think it's an important. I think it's an important point. I mean, Tim, please don't take it in a bad way. I've always loved you. I've never had a problem. But sometimes it's just, everybody that comes up, I'll talk to everybody. But when the line's done, hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I got to run, and that's no insult to anybody. It's just a personality type. Jer-dog likes to stay. Totally cool too.
Oh, we've had a few performers. I mean, and like you said, they drove in. They got in. Maybe they were able to take a nap. And they got to go somewhere the next day, or like you said, they want to get home. They haven't been home in a few days, and everybody's been very gracious. And I think comments I've heard from us or from other people, one of our things is people are pretty good with buying merchandise, and that's important to me too, because it's a perk for you guys, to be able to come in and geez, maybe it paid for your gas and your meals that day, or maybe it paid for your gas and your meals the next day, or whatever it may be. I try to get people, push them to, hey, buy the merchandise. Make sure you buy their stuff. They're going to have, their T-shirts, CDs, whatever, in your case, your book. Make sure you do that and support these guys. And, and that's just a little thing that I think adds. And I'm, people I've talked to are like, geez, I did really well selling my merchandise, and then they get done. And like you said, if it's time to go, I met people that want to meet me. The line's gone, so it's like, I'm gonna leave, and I don't blame or begrudge anybody for doing that, because I sneak out the back door a lot of times myself.
And on the other side of that, what you just said is 100% agreed with. I think the performer in a situation, and you don't have to do this, I've always done it. If someone from the staff comes over, I really like the show, how much is your CD? I say, this is my gift to you. Thank you very much. They cost me $1. And to me, that buck goes so much farther than any advertising dollar that I could spend. Because many times I'll go to a place 2, 3, 4 times later. I was just in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it happened. And the staff, the lady came up to me, this is Dobie Maxwell. He gave me a CD. I played it for everybody. And now 14 people are coming out to see him, blah, blah, blah. I understand shirts cost money and stuff like that, but be nice. Tim, a lot of times, put a meal out for you, give you some free drink. Give the staff, give them something back. I think that's a gimme, and a lot of comedians don't do that, and I never understood why.
Maybe they just don't think to, and I think some of them, it's almost like they like to maintain aloofness somehow. That adds to their showbiz credibility or value. And I'll tell you something else, man, though. Sticking around and partying, it ain't always cracked up to be either. Because by the time you get a reputation for that shit, and it's the, second or third or fourth time you've been back to that place, like Boxcars, I roll in, everybody up in there wants to buy me a fucking Jaeger bomb. And so now, usually the last time it was cool when it was just, a couple people buying me shots. But then when I roll in, literally 60 fucking people want to buy me a drink, that gets to be a little bit challenging. Not because I don't want to drink that much anyway. I like to get lit. I like to be under control, but we still have that 10-mile drive back to the hotel. Tim's really good about getting us the ride back. There's always a safe ride. This is something that's cool about Wisconsin, is they have those safe ride programs as well in a lot of bars, or pub pilots, whatever you call them. But Tim, you remember that time we did the happy hour, comedy hour there, and he brought me up like 8 shots within 20 minutes, and I still had to drive back and do 2 shows at Crosby Place that night?
I went with you to Crosby Place, and I remember I told Timmy to come down beforehand. He's like, Jesus. He goes, why is he stopping at your place? I said, because he's going to do 15 minutes during the double bubble and the meat raffle. And he's like, great. He goes, just don't get him all fucked up before you come. And then we showed up, and we were pretty happy. And Timmy's just shaking his head. But you put on a great show, and that's the thing too. I mean, we sit here and talking about partying and who does and who doesn't. And I've had comedians, and I'm not gonna say nothing. They're like, just pour me put a Coke in there with a straw, in a glass, and then they act like it's a cocktail. They're like, yeah, I don't drink. You bring me a couple of beers up on stage and put them on the table as more of a prop or whatever it might be, and that's fine. I could care less, but nobody's ever to that degree too. It's just the professionalism. Nobody's ever got hammered up on stage and not been able to perform, or showed up not being able to perform, and So I think in being a musician, it's just that persona of like, hey, here's a joint, here's a line of Coke, here's a shot, here's a beer. It's like, man, I don't do any of that stuff, dude. And then they look at you like, oh, that's weird.
Well, you can't be in the business any length of time and do that stuff. Once in a while or after the show is one thing, but the pros know, and you're a pro, and we're pros, and jer-dog looks a group of people in there. I just think there's so many bars around the country that can be doing exactly what you're doing. And it's like, okay, it's Wednesday night. You're not getting rich off of it. It sure is a nice cherry in the sundae or a feather in the cap on Boxcar's lineup. Great food. You got music. You got comedy too. What do you do to get the word out with your regular customers that comedy's coming? Do you do a mailer? Do you have flyers at the bar? What do you do?
Yeah, ahead of time, we'll jer-dog will get me it. We'll send out a mailer. We have a mailing list. That's kind of, we're on Facebook, but as far as advertising, we have people fill out little postcard-like things, and are they interested? What's their interest? They interested in music? They interested in Packer games? They interested in food specials? They interested in our comedy shows or music? They check it off, and then we'll send out 5 or 6 mailings a year. But come August, September, we'll send out a mailing. Hey, here's our 6 comedians, and our lady Jana, Advanced Printing in Beloit, will print off all 6, a poster of all 6 people, and we put them up in the bar, and we're lucky to have gotten to the point now that it's word of mouth, and we've had people call up, the day before, 2 days before, yeah, hey, I want to get tickets. It's sold out. What do you mean it's sold out? It's sold out. I don't have any more tickets available. Well,
yeah.
When did they go on sale? Well, they've been on. You can buy a VIP ticket right now. But I mean, people, I think sometimes, I don't know how to say it even, that they kind of sit there in bewilderment. It's like, how do you really have these comedians? Where do you get these guys from? Like, they're local? No, some come from local, some come from Milwaukee, Iowa, Indiana, wherever it might be. They played in Vegas. They play, Dobie was on the Tonight Show. They're not just, Billy Bob that works 40 hours at the factory and then goes out, like you guys talked about a while ago, training wheel comic, goes out once a month and tells some jokes because his buddies.
None of them are that.
Funny.
None of them are that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like Dobie, you mentioned it earlier. The term headliner gets thrown around. It's overused. It should mean someone who literally makes headlines. You know what I mean? I think, but
yeah.
What do you call a national act? The types of guys and comedians that are going to boxcars. Yeah, and you know who I'm talking about. Guys like us, journeyman, traveling troubadour. We go nationwide. We have followings, but we're not mainstream national celebrities. Like, what is a good name for that? What would it be a good term?
I just call it a journeyman is a good term. Touring professional, show closer. There's a lot of terms you can use for it. But I mean, a lot of times, how many musicians are really, really good, but just because they never had an MTV video with chicks dancing with big boobs in the background. There's a lot of fluff and stuff, and the average person, I think, only has room for maybe 2 or 3 comedians in their realm of thought. It might be Ray Romano, everybody loves Raymond, or it might be David Letterman. People ask, who's their favorite comic? David Letterman. Well, he's been off the air, a couple of years now. Johnny Carson, he's been off the air for 25 years. The average person is not nearly as comedy hip as we are. Now, Tim is because he's booking them at his club. But the average person, no clue. And it's no insult to us. We are touring professionals. I know people go, well, where did these come from? Are they local? They think it's, some ass bag that works at the Burger King drive-thru window that's cracking Polak jokes in between Whopper orders. But then they come out $10. Well, these guys better shit fire for $10, and they do. And jer-dog and Katrina Brown and all these other people go up there. Wow, that was a really great show. And they're really, I can't tell you how many times they've been to a place, but gee, you were a lot funnier than I thought you were. Well, hey, thanks a lot. You're not as drunk as I thought you'd be. What do you That's a good term, jer-dog. I don't know what the actual, journeyman, whatever you want to call it, but what my point is, there are a lot of great acts, and it's the supply and demand. And guys like Tim are smart enough to harvest those acts, and it's only 6 times a year. Here's a point I'd like to bring up, and I think both of you can add some really good light on it. How do you know, jer-dog, you booked several rooms, Tim, you booked your own. How do you? I mean, it's easy. Okay, you're smart enough to keep it at 6 comics in the winter time of year. I mean, summer, no offense, I want to be outside. It's very smart that you set the comics. But some clubs say, well, I did 6 good shows in a row. Now I'm going to go from once a month to every week. How do you know when to try that, when not to try that? Sometimes, that's the case of death if you try it more often. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I would like to, I just think that if it isn't broke, don't fix it, and I'm selling out. I've got, all I've got to do for the next 6 shows that start in October, I've got to sell 28 tickets per show to sell out. I've got 32 of them already sold. That to me is
for the entire year. That is like 32 tickets. Half the seats are already sold for the entire year going into next year already.
Yeah, and I make a point to let people know that there are 28 tickets available for every show that once it starts in October, 28 October, 28 November, 28 December, so on. But I've thought about, geez, and people are like, why don't you do this more often, or why don't you do it, twice a month, or I don't want to ruin a good thing, and I'm not greedy. I mean, I'm a businessman. I'd love to, if I could do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sell out all 4 shows, I'd do it. It's Clinton. There's 2,000 people. It's also for those people, those 32 people that have tickets right now, they know the first Wednesday of every month they're going to have date night. They're going to have a night out. They're going to have whatever it might be. A lot of people are one couple and they buy 4 tickets because they're going to bring a different couple to every show, or they're going to bring these people, or so it's something special for them to look forward to also. And if all of a sudden there's 8 shows a month, it's not special anymore. It's not unique. We started doing, you were talking about people coming around, we started doing some music stuff, some singer-songwriters out of Nashville. And these guys, we have a guy coming up next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, who's written 2 top 5 hits for other people. But people don't know who he is, but yet they come and see him, and it's kind of piggybacked off of the comedy thing. And a lot of the same people come, but then there's also a lot of different people. And they're like, geez, I heard you about this comedy thing. You sell this out. And we're selling out these music shows, at the same rate we're selling out comedy shows. And so I think it's just a quality thing. And again, these guys love being here. It's like a mini version of the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville. Not trying to compare boxcars to Bluebird in Nashville, but they get a kick out of the fact that people sit and listen to them, because just like what you guys have done when you're set up in a corner under a TV and, the shake of the day is going on. And, I watched jer-dog at a place in Janesville, and, these guys are still watching TV. They're shake of the day. There's 8 people paying attention. 2 people are carrying on a conversation. I mean, and I couldn't imagine doing that, but, that's there again, that you're making a living, and that's what you have to do. But getting back to your original question, I got off, Dobie, and I'm sorry, but I just think that keeping it special is the key for us.
Well, not to be sorry about number 1, but number 2, just a little example. And I heard everything you said, but say if you mentioned a little bit before, well, you're thinking about maybe doing 2 shows on a night. Okay, if you did that, the comic's already in town. Could you pull that off? Boxcars, like you said, is a small place in a small town. Would you do 7 and 9? Is that too late for a town like Clinton? If you did, 60 in the first show and 30 in the second, would that be worthwhile? Little things like that, because I think once you get to a situation where, greedy is one thing, but in business, gee, we sold the first one out. Do we take a chance? I think it's a hard question. What would you ever try 2 shows?
Yeah, and I think what I would do, myself would be instead of doing 2 shows in one night, I think I would be better off. Are you there?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Did I lose you?
Nope, we're
Nope,
here.
I got you.
Sounds like
Are you guys there?
Yeah, we're here, Jim. We can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. All right, I lost you there for a second, I thought. But I was gonna say I would try to do like a show on a Tuesday or at a show on a Thursday if the comedian was available. That would be the way I would do it. And then, like you said, preferably on a Thursday because, all right, we sold out Wednesday's show. So, that's sold out. Let's add Thursday. And if we sell 40 tickets, well, you know what? Then 40 tickets more pays for the comedian, brings in 40 people to buy drinks. And, I'm not spending any more on advertising or anything. And I think that's the way we would do it. And then, getting to this, that's why I keep pushing these VIP tickets. And if we get to the point to where, we had 40 VIP tickets and only 20 tickets to sell and, people are interested, I would look to add a second show.
Yeah, and I think that's probably pretty close to happening actually this year, if not next year for sure. If you made those available and still offered a few, I think it's kind of like sports though. If everybody the only people that were allowed to go to the game were the VIPs, you would never be able to open it up to new fans. And you would still want to have a trickle of new fans coming in at all times.
Oh, absolutely. I don't want just I don't want people not coming because it's like, oh, we can't, we're not going to get tickets. They already got 40 tickets sold. Geez, I don't know. That's the other thing. It's like shit or get off the pot sometimes. Do you want to buy tickets or not? Because if you don't want them now and it's sold out in a week, don't bitch at me about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've experienced, I've had people do that. It's like, Jesus Christ, I told you last week I wanted to go. You didn't fucking pull your wallet out and buy a ticket. I'm not in the business of, saving tickets because I've got burned on that before too. The night of the show, it's like, call the guy, hey, where are you? Oh yeah, we can't come. Oh, okay, well I'm glad I put sold out on the sign, and I could have sold these 4 tickets, yesterday 3 times, but now I'm going to eat. Well, I'll pay you for them. Yeah, I know you're for them, Jag. It's like, but that's not the point. The point is to come and buy some drinks and food.
Yeah,
that is the
being
point.
laughing and having a good time and spreading the word.
Well, and the point is too, it's like I understand stuff happens. So I'm not, and I think everybody understands that. But it's like, I'll talk to you, and to you, jer-dog, or I might text Dobie. Hey Dobie, show's sold out 3 days, on that Monday. And he shows up on Wednesday, and there's 4 tables that are sitting empty. It's like, what the fuck? I want people there because I want the room full. I want, stuff done. Dobie wrote one of the nicest articles, and I just was cleaning out my desk, and I came across it again the other day, a letter about when he brought a lady with him, and then you brought that young man with you, Dobie. Is he still doing comedy?
Off and on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you came and you wrote one of the nicest articles about that show and just about our place, and I actually framed that and I put it in letters that I've sent out to. Well, thank you. I thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice. It was nice to read that, and it makes all the work because it's not my wife Randy puts in just a ton of work doing this stuff, and it's moving around the room and setting the stage. It ain't no big deal, but it's like, it takes a few hours, and so that was nice to hear. But I just think that people, I don't know. We've talked about this jer-dog 100 times, and I know I'm rambling kind of here in different areas, but and Dobie said that before, $10, you better shit fire and stuff. But I think a free show would be worse to do than a show that people pay money for.
100%. You're exactly correct.
For you guys,
and that's what happened in Janesville that time. They just roll in, TVs are on, no one gives a fuck, people are in and out. You're just background bullshit fodder. Now, as a comedian, I like listen, this is where maybe Dobie and I might have a differing opinion, but I don't think it's for all comedians. But personally, as a comic, I like those situations sometimes, because it puts your feet to the fire. It tests your ability. Can I get the person that's watching TV to turn around and actually pay attention to what I'm doing? It just toughens me up a little bit. But in general,
I'm going to differ with you. In all respect, I'm the jaded old fart I never thought I would be. I used to hear the headliners talk when I started. How can you be so bitter? You're doing us as they want to. Jer-dog, you still got hopes and dreams, and God bless you, but I don't want to tame those people. If they paid $10, I want them to see comedy. If they want to watch baseball, that's fine. Don't do it on my time. But again, it doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just what I think.
No, I agree. That's the problem with the free shows is they roll in, and it's very hard to get the person who didn't pay. They're just there at a night to the bar. They didn't go there with an intention of being at a comedy night. It sucks, So sparingly, I found there's a lot of places you can't help it. You get booked for a gig. You don't necessarily have any control over how they promote it. When Tim and I work together, we work together to be able to promote the ideal possible performing situation for comics and, for most importantly, the audience's enjoyment. I found that if they pay the $10, they enjoy it more. The audience enjoys it more.
No question.
Oh yeah, you've showed up on a Friday just dicking around. I've asked you. You've been coming through town, or like I said before, we went up to Timmy's place, and there they are. They're just sitting at the bar, the double bubble and shit, and it's like it's just a free for all kind of, because people are sitting there. They're some of the people are there. They didn't come to hear a comic, so all of a sudden, what the fuck? I wanted to talk to Bill about work. We're pouring concrete tomorrow, and I got to know if I'm going to have a striker there or not, or whatever the hell. I don't know. But, and they didn't want to hear it, and they're just like, shut
song or whatever, and they're trying to during the meat raffle.
Yeah, you turning the jukebox back on? It's like, Jesus Christ. Why don't you shut up? Shut up for 15 minutes. And that's, one of the few times that, when it happened to Dobie, and I was so pissed. He was at our place, and there were some ladies that were sitting at a table. I don't know if you remember that, Dobie, or not. And
there's been so many of those, buddy. No offense, they all blend.
Four ladies, and they wouldn't shut up. And 3 times, and the third time, finally you went off, and and you were, like, hey, are you guys gonna shut the fuck up? Because nobody spent $10 to sit here and listen to you bitches babble on, And maybe you weren't quite that rude. You should have been. And but I remember they got up and they walked out, which, thank God, I'm so glad they did. But I remember, and a couple of them have been back since to several shows, and they're very, very well respected of the comedians now. But
good.
But a couple of them were talking to a friend, like, Jesus Christ, what an asshole. And my buddy goes, what are you talking about? Well, you fucking didn't have to call us out like that. He said, it was the third time he asked you to shut up. You didn't have to keep talking, So you guys needed to shut the fuck up. And to see their looks on their face when they got called out by other people that were at the show, they were like, Jesus, I guess we must have been loud or rude or obnoxious. Yeah, you were, And so it was what I just loved it. I felt bad, but then all of a sudden, I'm thinking, this guy's been around 25 years. If this is the worst shit he's ever seen, this is pretty mild. And I'm thinking he can handle it better than I can. And you did. And it was so cool. And it was just a great story I've told many times.
Well, thanks, man. It's all good in a situation where it's going to happen. 2 quick stories to tag on that, because I think if borrowers are listening to this, they need to hear it. Number one, I worked with David Brenner one time from The Tonight Show, and it was in Charleston, North Carolina. Or South Carolina, rather, excuse me. And it was a bachelorette party. And he's been in it, 40 years. He hosted The Tonight Show, 85 times. And he's a legitimate big star. And tickets were, I think, $45 or $55 to see him. And he basically did most of the show. And the bachelorette started in about 5 minutes after he got on, and they kicked him out. $55 tickets, and there was probably 20 of them, and they were right up on the stage. And how big do you have to get, number one, before that happens? Number two, there's a video on YouTube. I can't think of the guy's name. I will dig it up and send it to both of you. There's a guy that was a world-class violinist in the New York scene. I don't know, whatever the symphony is there. He played at the train station in New York. He wore jeans and a T-shirt. This guy is world-class. He makes millions of dollars. And they took a video of how many people actually stopped to watch him play. It was free. They were going to their train. I think they counted 22 people stopped in 45 minutes. He had his guitar or fiddle case, violin case open, and he made like $12.85, as people walk by. And at night, he's playing. It's how it's presented, too. So a free show with pool games going and dart leagues in progress and the baseball game on. I don't care if you got, Dave Chappelle there for free. You're asking for trouble in those kind of situations. So charging $10 and having a separate room and all these things which seem like little things really aren't. That's why you're going into your 5th or 6th year, because you did it right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know.
Thank you.
Just on that note of tickets and stuff, we have another musical event coming up in July on a Wednesday night, and we don't have those tickets printed yet. The lady's going to have them printed for us, and which we already have. I don't know. We have 30 some tickets sold for that show in July already. But some people came in and they were apprehensive to pay their money because we didn't have tickets sitting there. And we have tickets, and they're numbered 1 through 60, and it looks like a regular ticket to a show, which it should. I don't want to give somebody a half of a fucking raffle ticket,
Right.
And go here's your ticket. I want it to look like it's, and some people are like, what do we do with a ticket? I don't know. You keep it, whatever you want to do. I don't care, but it's your ticket. You need it to get in the show. And there's a lot of people that appreciate it. A lot of people keep them, but it looks professional. The posters we have done, look professional. I get a lot of comments from the comedians that come in. They go, hey, can I have one of them posters? I can take that home, keep it, especially if it says sold out on it,
Sure.
And I make sure to keep them and offer them to them, and that's. So I mean, I think all them little bitty things, just what you said and touched on. I know we're kind of repeating, or I'm repeating what you guys have said. I just think that just adds to everything. And then do some people think it's hokey? Sure, I bet they probably do, but I don't give a fuck about what some of them think.
Yep.
I really don't.
It is. It's just like, really, it's not that hard of a formula. It's about 10 things, just little things that really anybody could do if they just paid attention to them and committed to it, which is what you do, Tim. You just do, like, the basic things right. It's you weren't, like, just magically inspired and gifted to be a comedy promoter. You said it yourself, but you didn't even really think of the idea until you got a letter from me. And
right.
Along the way, we've worked to tweak the process. You've moved the room around. You've always been open to experimentation. That's another key idea as well. Is too many guys get calcified into only one way of being able to do something, only one way of being able to run their bar, only one way of being able to present a comedy night. There's a lot. Like, there's definitely something to be said for the MC, feature, closer formula, absolutely, but it's not the only way it can be done. And at Boxcars, you've done all kinds of different formats. We've even gone in there and done daytime shows in the Sunday afternoon where we had the 5 headliners each just do 20-minute sets. And that's not something you typically see. That's not something that a lot of venue owners will be willing to experiment with. That's a big, big key. Even if you get these other, things right, if you don't have the mindset to be open and try new and different things, you're fucked.
Well, I think it's also a tribute to you guys, and you were both involved in that Super Bowl World Series, World Bowl Super Series, and it's like, nobody came there with an ego. It was like nobody was up there trying to be funnier than the next guy. They were all just, I remember talking to Dwight York, and he's just like, Jesus, I just hope I can go up there and fucking not bomb. Because the other talent that was there, but you guys all sat and laughed together. Everybody listened to each other. They laughed. It was a lot of different aspects of the comedy realm Nobody would no two were alike, and I just think it was just cool to be able to see 5 guys that do the same thing in a, that do it in a competitive way, whether you want to do it or not. You said that earlier. We're all competitive. Shit, I want to be the best. I do. It's a stroke to my ego to have you say, oh, you got the best one-nighter in the country. I'm proud of that, and shit. We all have egos, to see 5 guys set their egos aside and just worry about putting on a good show that was sold out to the 64 people that were in there. That was really, really cool to see.
And it was a Sunday afternoon, it wasn't like a Saturday night. It was everybody kind of made time on their way back from a gig to wherever they were going, and the crowd made it a point to show up at 2 in the afternoon or something like that. It was 2 in the afternoon, and I mean that's a tribute to
few of them people, quite a few of them had seen 1 or maybe 2 or 3 or almost all of the performers. There were some people in it that saw all of you guys. But again, they knew it was going to be like an awesome show. I think it was sold out, a week ahead of time, if not more. I mean, it was a pretty cool thing. And so, it's just a tribute to working together and not worrying about what the next person's doing. I heard somebody said once, the more time you spend worrying about what the other guy's doing is the less time you spend worrying about what you should be doing. And so I think about that often. And when comedians come in, I ask every one of them, hey, is there something you do different? Is this a good setting? Was it good for you? What do you think? I mean, I'm not open, nobody's gonna piss me off if they go like, well, have you ever thought about doing this? No, good idea. Or maybe I'll think about that. And then they leave and it's like, that was a dumbass idea. But no, it was, so it's been great. It's been a great relationship. I couldn't ask to work with, more professional people, and, it's one I hope to continue doing, and, hopefully we build on it. Who knows?
Well, that is the difference. We had that one day we had the World Super Bowl series of comedy, whatever we called it. We were just goofing around with the name, and I can never really say it right. But those were just 5. Those were what we were talking about earlier. 5 journeyman, traveling troubadour, professional, road experienced bar comics. When you break it down, the guys that can get up there day in and day out, they keep their shit sharp, and they went up there one after the other and crush it. Dwight York. Oh, I hope I don't bomb. Give me a break. That dude is so fucking tight with his stuff, and people love him, and he went up there and destroyed. You know what I mean? But then the one time when we did bring in the recognizable name celebrity, that dude from Jackass, and he didn't go over so good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was sold out, relatively quick, just because the Jackass thing. But yeah, he wasn't a stand-up comedian, and it wasn't a big enough area to do prop comic like he kind of did or should have done. But yeah, that didn't go. But I mean, then when Uncle Larry was there, I had that to me was all of a sudden I had like 5 or 6 people like, Larry, you really got Larry Reed there? Wow, he's in Vegas and shit. I go, yeah, a lot of these guys are. You ever seen Dobie? He was on a Tonight Show, for Christ's sakes. Oh, no shit. Well, I didn't. Well, where do you get these guys? I pull them out of my ass.
Larry Reeves to me is like the perfect juxtaposition of the guy who's got tight material, but a lot of people do know his name. But he's not necessarily like a superstar, But a lot of people do recognize that Uncle Larry.
Exactly. It's hard to be a superstar. It's not a matter of talent. There are so many other things. I don't think talent is in the top 10. So you're just jealous. No, it really isn't that. It's show business. Should be business show because the business is the most important part. I think jer-dog's one of the few people. He's smarter than most. He's smarter than me because he thought about the business first. Yeah, he thinks about his act. He's funny. Funny enough. I think what's funny enough to bar owners and to an audience members, comedians, well, I added 2 taglines and I did a new premise. Nobody gives shit one. If it's new material, if it's old material, if you got it off the frickin' bathroom wall at Boxcars in Clinton, Wisconsin, they want to be entertained. The average person, and that's no insult to the average person. They're like I said, they're laying cement tomorrow. They got 3 kids. They live in a trailer park. Their check engine light is on. They got 0 401k. They got a lump on their balls. You know, there's things you're thinking about. They want to hear a couple of dick jokes and laugh a little bit. You know, I think comedians get this attitude of, oh, I'm an artist. No, you're a dick joke slinger, and that's not a bad thing. You're blowing steam off. You see what I'm saying? Yes, we all want to be artistes. Every stripper, you know, that's showing her boobs to sailors is a ballerina. No, sorry. I didn't tell you pretty. You're showing your tits to get your rent paid. I don't fault that. You know what I'm saying? Let's be in the real world a little bit, and I think there's going to be a lot less problems. People always say, you know, gee, I heard you were such an asshole to work with. Then I work with you. You're one of the nicest guys I ever met. Well, thank you very much. You know, you hear reputations for people that are clueless. I mean, if we all take self-importance out of it, you know, we're all making a living. That's pretty important. Okay, Tim, I'm sorry. You don't own Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Doesn't mean you're a failure. Jer-dog and I aren't playing Caesar's Palace in Vegas. Doesn't mean we're failures either. You got to blow the dust out of the speakers a little bit and put some perspective to it. After that, you're golden.
Yeah, that's why you're one of my favorite performers, Dobie. You're just
Thanks,
I love the realism in what you do, and you know, you've been there, you've done that, and you know, like you said, this is what it is, and it pays the bills, and you know, that's what you know, I don't pretend to be the Laugh Factory in Madison, Wisconsin. You know, I'm not gonna have, but I've got a guy that just contacted me the other day that's a pretty good name, and you know, wanted to know if I had a date open, and I haven't even contacted him back, and it's like, gee, I wouldn't be able to. I'd have to sell the tickets for fucking $50 a ticket. Who's gonna buy that?
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, yeah,
kudos to you, man.
Love
What's
it.
that?
And I don't know what really more could be said after that epic rant that Dobie just gave us. You know, what
Exactly.
possibly say to top that? It was awesome. Let's wrap it up. You guys are great. Thank you guys so much. Tim, what are the dates that we're doing comedy? Do we have those figured out yet? Or if we have,
it'll be the first Wednesday in October. I'm sorry, first Wednesday in October, followed by the first Wednesday in November, December, January, February, and March. So it's the first Wednesday of all 6 of them months.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Showtime's at 7:30, and you know, tickets will be available when you get me the lineup. You know, sometime you're usually good about that, and you know, by the early September. You know, we got a month to get it out there.
Yep. Well, and who do you have coming up here soon? You have big special event, music event?
Yeah, well, we have this Wednesday coming up, a gentleman named Rick Huckabee, singer-songwriter out of Nashville, wrote If I Could Have a Beer with Jesus that Thomas Rhett, I think, took the #1, Muddy Water that Trace Atkins did. He played in Tracy Lawrence's band, wrote a lot of stuff for Tracy Lawrence, Tanya Tucker, you know, and then in July we have a gentleman named Jeremy McComb, who used to be Larry the Cable Guy's dude, that tour guy. He set up all of Larry's tour and stuff. And he's told me some stories, you know, pretty. We'll have to discuss next time we're together some Ron White, Jeff Foxworthy, and Cable Guy stories that are pretty hilarious and kind of give you a little insight into what the guys making, you know, $200,000 a show are really like compared to the guys that are making $500 a show, you know, or whatever it might be.
A little difference there.
The only difference is really just in the number of zeros behind the pay, and you know, some of them guys aren't near as funny as the people that I've had here. I don't think. And then I listen to stories of, you know, to where they're not that nice of people sometimes.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
I gotta fly. Don't mean to be cut you short. Great talking to you. I will talk to you soon.
See you, Dobie.
Guys, thank you guys for listening to thebarcomic.com. Tim, thank you very much, man.